All right, I think we can start. Already, I think attendees are coming in. So let's begin. Right. Good afternoon, one and all, to this webinar in the series focusing on patient experience at hospitals, organized by BestDoc. Today, I'm really excited to introduce our main guest, Mr. Kumar KV, the Group CIO of Narayana Health, one of the largest and, of course, the most reputed healthcare brands, not just in India, but across the globe. Right? And this reputation extends to the technology front as well, with NH being early adopters of many new digital initiatives, led, of course, by Mr. Kumar's vision and leadership. So welcome, Mr. Kumar. Uh,
Thank you, Mithun.
yeah, thanks. Joining Kumar is, of course, Bharat Gera, who is a strategic advisor at BestDoc and a pioneer in digital transformation of healthcare. Bharat has worked with hospitals across India and outside, including most recently with St. John's National Academy of Health Sciences, Bangalore, and has designed and implemented multiple projects for digital healthcare globally. Welcome, Bharat.
Thank you for
Right.
the warm introduction.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
yes, uh, again, just quick check on the agenda. So for the next 44 minutes or so, we will be looking at all things around integration at hospital, right? So we're looking forward to a very nice conversations across many of these things as mentioned here. And if you look at successful integration of patient-centric hospital software, which is the topic for today, that can only happen if you're able to understand and learn from the challenges and experience, right? And who better to share this, these the thoughts around this than our speakers, who have more than 50 years of combined experience in healthcare technology transformation itself. So, uh, Mr. Kumar, to start with you, right? So, talking about these challenges again, I'm sure you would have a lot of experience to talk about. I mean, and this journey that you were saying, right? So, uh, it's an ongoing journey, right? But during this journey itself, you would have seen a lot of things, right? So how's it been, and how where are we right now in terms of this particular maturity on the technology side at hospitals?
Sure, Mithun. So I think thank you so much for the opportunity. So let me first give you the a quick overview on from a integration standpoint, right? Because when you talk about patient-centric integration, it becomes very important, right? See, in healthcare, the four pillars are speed, access, quality, cost, and not to and one thing that is not mentioned is safety, right? If
Hmm.
these five pillars that are actually there, these five pillars are very important in delivering this. In the last several years, we've seen a good amount of progress happening across all these areas, but there is purely because there is an increasing risk across the entire health system because we are handling people's lives over here, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And whatever we do from a technology standpoint, to bring all these together, especially on the safety, on the experience, on the quality and everything access, it's more of incremental approach, but and it requires a lot of improvement. And what basically assembles all these areas and connects all these areas is an integration, right? Look at
Hmm.
integration, and when we think about delivering these to the patients, because the end consumers are going to use these services, right? We have to think this from a system integration standpoint or from a systems approach and identify what are all the building blocks that are actually required to power these, right? And these are very important to deliver across all the four pillars, from a healthcare standpoint. While there has been a considerable progress that has been made by HL7 and FHIR, DICOM, line standards
Hmm.
over a period of time in the last decade or couple of decades. But there is still a lot more work to be done when we say that true interoperability, portability, and standardization of records as well as systems, happen, right? These are all nice things to say, but uh, these are very hard to achieve for a country like India, for a population is like ours, and the infrastructure that is actually there.
Hmm.
These are, we have to, these are all the, I would say, these are the goals that are actually there, and we have to define milestones as how we can achieve it. But let me end this by saying and giving an example from the aviation industry, right? healthcare industry itself can learn from an aviation industry, because when let us say a major airline wants to build an aircraft, right? It does not painstaking, no, it does not start assembling all the parts. What has actually happened is a lot of standardization in terms of components, a lot of standardization in terms of software, the integration, let us say communication equipment, softwares, engines, oxygen mask, everything has been standardized. So all you require is a large integrator who can assemble something like this, somebody like an Airbus or a Boeing or a Bombardier, right? Based on the nature of the aircraft, basically deliver it at low cost, high quality, right? So when we are able to bring in standardization, when we are able to bring integration, and be able to bring all this, then we can think of a pretty large platform where players can easily plug, and systems would get seamlessly integrated and deliver the required experience. And today, the landscape is fraught with lot of issues in terms of non-standard, as you mentioned, the non-standard data formats. There are multiple data sources. There is, not so secure integrations. Privacy is still in its infancy. We talk about it, but we not done. As healthcare providers, we need to do a lot on the privacy front. And when you talk about integration, we are only seeing this only from a single perspective. We are not looking at the bigger picture. How the platform would scale over a period of time, right? That those are some of the things also which are very, very important when we talk about integration. When we want to deliver services to consumers, then we need to ensure that these areas are all addressed in a very structured manner.
True, true. I think that, when you talk about these various areas, right, I think there are, I mean, of course, there are a lot of facets to it when you, and the ecosystem players that comes into play, right? That's very important. So, Bharat, like in terms of that, in terms of having the standardization part of it, which Mr. Kumar was mentioning, and then bringing all these players together, how do you feel that approach has been or should be actually? I'm sorry, Bharat, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm going to take you to the first slide where you showed our mug shots. If you see those mug shots, I'm holding a book there. The book is called Explorers Guild.
All
It
right.
talks about the early journeys to the North Pole and trying to cross the continents uh, using the North Pole route. And it used to be always ending up in disasters. Each of those explorers ended up in wrecks. We've heard about the famous Titanic, of course, but there
Right.
were a lot of these explorers who went through tremendous challenges, and everything was an obstacle for them. If you look at the reality of hospital systems today, that's more like the real situation. The ideal situation is where we have everything standardized like the airline industry, but the reality of hospital information systems, especially in India, is pretty much full of roadblocks, full of things which will throw you off and get you frostbitten and everything.
True. True.
Terrible experiences. Some of the situations I've heard about from my colleagues include, because the patient just did not show up in a waiting queue, there were people held up in daycare surgery for, more than half an hour. I've experienced this, and it's just sometimes, they just didn't get the right attention at the right time. This is terrible. Uh,
Right.
Work list going wrong seems like okay, maybe some items didn't show up in the queue, but oh no, that means people sitting there waiting for half an hour for a service and not seeing their name come up. Now put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's waiting for the name to come up and the name doesn't show up because there was something wrong in the integration that was done between the radiology system and your queue management system, right? And patients don't see the entire blocks behind it, and they only see what they see for their interaction. So we really need to think about it by putting ourselves in the patient's shoes. We know a lot is going on at the back, which the patient doesn't know about. So, of course, a lot of work needs to be done in what I would say are three layers. So the first layer, the bottommost layer, which the industry has been working towards for the last 15, 20 years, is the integration of the hospital systems. When you're in the hospital, the lab, the radiology, the blood bank, and all the departments need to be integrated together. There is this idealistic ERP kind of hospital information system on EMR, which is supposed to be all in one. But invariably, you end up in a large hospital, you end up with like 60 subsystems. So those all need to be integrated in in some way. And there's been a lot of work done, like Kumar mentioned, using HL7 and various integration platforms that help do it, integration engines that help do it, like from Siemens. Um, Now that's the first layer. That is today should be taken for given. Uh, but we know that in India it cannot be taken for given, and it is still an area where we are 10 years behind. The next layer is where we talk about the integration with the patient-facing application. Like I spoke about the queue management application, the payment application, getting to see my records, getting to see my bills. All that is what the patient wants, right? That part is where the mistakes are more easily visible to the patient, and that's where if we are not working on those, we get to see the impact of that right away. That's the next layer of systems that need to be integrated, and at the highest level is what we're calling the super highway, which is the integration of records across the healthcare ecosystem, so that if you go to one hospital, you can go to the other lab, and you go to this lab, and the doctor in the hospital can see your records. Now this is the summum bonum, the ultimate nirvana of healthcare systems, so that everything works together across all the hospitals and clinicians and labs and diagnostics and everything. But that's what the patient wants, and I really applaud the approach taken by the ABDM, the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, as it's called now, and it was called the National Digital Health Mission earlier. The approach that has been taken is brilliant, to pull all the records into a personal health record, which you can give a consent to and then authorize your clinician to see it. But when Kumar and I were just speaking about this, that's a journey of 1,000 miles. We're still at the single step. What do we do now? That's what I'm sure a lot of people who are attending this seminar want to know. What do we do first?
Correct. No, I think Bharat, you talked about the integration part. See, we see, be at NHB, see it at two layers, right? There is a horizontal integration that you spoke about, right? The EMR billing, the outpatient and various other areas getting integrated to a mobile app, or basically, to a display unit. That is more of horizontal integration. The vertical integration is what we connect to ABDM, the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, and the other ecosystems, opening up the entire ecosystem from an interoperability standpoint, portability standpoint. I think from a healthcare provider standpoint, we have to, if we say this is as an entire journey, and if we look this from a patient perspective, and as you said, it is very important that we look this from the perspective of a patient, get into their shoes and see things, right from registrations to let us say billing or sample collection or whatever we do to improve the overall experience. It is very important to understand what we have understood is we walk through this entire area and see how a patient will basically go. We try to do heat maps and understand how they go in search of services. Are they going in search of services? Are they being directed correctly? And understanding what sort of data requirements are actually there from an integration standpoint. So when you're talking about, let us say, it can be as simple as integration with a queue management system, right? So what data needs to be populated and displayed, right? You don't have to display their phone number, their Aadhaar number and everything, but it might be their name, maybe the last four digits of their MRN and that, or you can even send that as an SMS. When we think about integration, we say that, oh, I have projected that. Not many people even look up the screen. But if you're able to send this on a WhatsApp, and if you're able to integrate that, that will basically improve your overall adoption of this also. So people will be able to see that they'll get notified. And because gone are the days where you want to have large HD display units, and you want to what do you say, show up all the information over there. It can even be through as simple as WhatsApp, and telling them you are actually on queue, you are next, your turn is going to come. That itself would what do you say, push the needle from a patient experience standpoint, right? So if you're able to look this from a horizontal integration standpoint, identify the pieces where the patient is actually going across the ambulatory area, or let us say across the entire ambulatory process, or the inpatient, or daycare for that matter, or even it can be as simple as going to the cafeteria, right? So saying that you can see various places where you can notify the patient, where you can ensure that data is cleanly routed, and data which is really required for them to see. I think if you're able to figure out this piece first, and to think to a large extent we have standardized this piece, integrated this piece, and still working on, right? Because as we all know, this is a journey, this does not stop, there is no destination. I get into each station, I see how I'm doing. Sometimes I get beaten up, sometimes I'm really praised for what is done, but then we pick up the lessons that is actually there, and take the next path, right? And basically do the course correction. Constant recalibration is actually required, because as patients or I would say consumer behavior is changing, digital is becoming more of a everyday talk, right? So patients want, we have to constantly recalibrate and see how to deliver a better experience, and that can only happen through a clean integration. And if we have to think through this from a patient standpoint, and if we think through from a tech standpoint, it's really not going to work.
Very, very true. Very true. And taking that journey analogy, right? I think the whole approach of design thinking, which is start with the customer journey map. It's surprising that so few of healthcare providers actually do that effectively. I'm sure Kumar NH does, but there's a lot of at Bestdoc, we've done this often whenever we build a product, right? What we've always done is, hey, what's going on in the customer's mind when they're going through each step of that journey? Like you just spoke about, they're going to the cafeteria, or they're waiting for their lab results. So you need to have empathy. You need to know what is their state of mind. Are they worried at this point of time? What can we give them to address that worry? We can tell them, okay, this is going to take half an hour more. This is if a critical result comes in, we need to probably give them some kind of immediate response in terms of somebody coming there and helping them out. These things need to be modeled by empathy, and using techniques of design thinking is my stand, and I think it works very well at Bestdoc, is what I've seen to design effective products. So one of the things that I've seen, when we do these journey maps and we do these design thinking exercises, I've I've always thought of it very simple way, and I request the audience to think also in that way. That what you do when you really want good service at the hospital, you call somebody at the hospital. Almost everybody does that, right?
Yeah.
They say, I know this guy, vaguely I know this person, I will call this person will help me out because he's my friend.
Right.
And maybe he'll help me jump the queue, maybe he'll help me get the right doctor, maybe she will be comforting to me when I go to the hospital or whatever. I think the technology's goal, the ultimate goal of technology, is to do that. Be your friend in the hospital. You don't have to call anybody else. Just call this friend, right? And I'm hoping Bestdoc gets there, becomes the friend of all the patients in the hospital. Yeah.
Very well said, Bharat. I think see what one example is. See, like you said, when I want to get, let us say, my parent or relative to the hospital, then I always put in a word. I think the best patient-centric experience we can say confidently, if we have achieved that state of nirvana, is when we are able to send our mother or our loved ones to the hospital without even putting a word, and they going and getting everything done for them, and they coming back and saying that fantastic experience, right? I think that is a
I'll
state.
give an award. I'll give an award to the hospital that takes out that VIP tag from the list of patients. All hospitals have this VIP tag.
Yeah.
Every patient is a VIP. That is how it has to
Yes.
be.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, well said, Bharat. I think that is well said. I think that is the state that hospital, if that is the end goal, today's hospital have to map, invest in design thinking, invest in tools like like companies like Best Doc or other startups that are actually there, understand how this entire journey plays out, right? And say not everybody will be able to cater to their entire patient experience, but identify good players through pilots or through your MVPs, take those route, integrate and do multiple dry runs and see if this experience really works and do these course corrections. So if they are able to do this and watch the data that is actually coming out of it in terms of your analytics and everything, if you're able to do that, I'm very sure that we'll be able to provide a very optimal patient-centric experience in each of our healthcare providers facilities.
So Kumar, I want to ask this to Mithun, and I've been asked this by people in banking who work in banking systems and retail systems, and Mithun has been in marketing automation before this.
Right.
What they say is, what is so damn difficult in this domain that you're not able to achieve what we are able to do in all other fields? What is so complex here that you're not able to do? Why is it so difficult to do it in healthcare? They just can't understand it.
Yeah,
Mithun,
I
can you
mean,
talk about how others do it so well? We all want to be inspired by it.
no, I mean, see, if you look at for the past many months that I've been looking at healthcare and beyond, one thing I've seen is that the other industries there is a lot of maturity in terms of the standardization. I think not just maybe nationally, I mean over the overall ecosystem in terms of the vendors as well, right? And that has over the many years that has now become a point of parity, right? I mean, as a customer or even as a vendor, one of the first things you'll ask is, okay, how strong are your APIs, right? How well are your documentation available? How is it integrated to this solution, that solution? So I think that awareness is there, right? In I think across all the actors, across the stakeholders in this particular
So,
purchase
Kumar, do
and
you agree
evaluation.
with that? Is it the level of maturity of technology used in healthcare that is the culprit, or is it something else?
No,
Sometimes I hear the complex workflows that exist in healthcare
correct,
are not very amenable to classic BPM because we're looking at multiple processes working together,
correct,
right?
correct,
So
correct.
it's not classic BPM. It's not as easy as retail or banking is in that sense.
So in retail or banking, they have standardized the entire process because here in across different providers, we have tried to customize it so deeply that there is no standardization. So lack of standardization, in the entire process,
No, but can there be standardization in workflows? I mean,
there
you
will
you
be
know very
standardization.
well in clinical workflows there can be so many variations, right?
Yeah, correct. But it all depends. At least in certain areas, you can, bring in, some amount of standardization and see how, again, we'll have to, invest time and, to plan out to really understand what are all the ways in which things can actually be standardized. Of course, there will be variations. We'll have to take that into account and see and design those experiences accordingly. Bharat, you're on mute.
Just following NABH or the clinical protocols that are laid out in quality systems, putting that energy and investment in that help the hospitals design workflows that work. And then going back to the other question, Kumar, I want to know specifically, is the technology maturity of the healthcare sector very low, and is that the culprit as well?
No, I think I feel that the entire ecosystem is very fragmented. So we have a multitude of health information systems which are there, and after COVID, numerous others have actually come in, and anybody whoever has actually or many of these, I wouldn't say there are certain very good people also, so I don't want to generalize any statement, but when they build software, it is very important to adhere to a specific standard, ensure that there are standardized integration interfaces or APIs that are actually provided for, for all of this. Many a time, even data models, when you talk about clinical data models, like, FHIR data model, many people talk about it, but actually they might not have implemented that too, right? So that's where, the technology falls flat, because you say that, the software might be very good from the outside, but inside, right, the components that are actually put in, how these components are actually joined together, the backend that is actually supporting these components, they might not have adhered to the standards. So there has to be a way in which, these softwares can actually be graded, so that when healthcare providers procure this, they know that they stand for these. There is a checklist that is actually there where they can actually tick off and say that yes, we know for sure that okay, these adheres to standard, and it will help me to build that what is a standardization or integration that I really want.
So
So
the Meaningful Use Act in the US, and now what India is doing with the ABDM sandbox,
correct.
you have to meet. In fact, what I find is that the the efforts by the government are remarkable in terms of what they're doing in terms of an API based platform. And that's in fact what I tell the hospitals is, hey, you know what? They've done a great job as an architecture. You mimic that architecture and build it in house. You will achieve the same thing within the hospital and what is being planned for the super highway. You don't need the super highway today. You need your local road. Use the same method, of building the road, the blocks, the tar, the way of building the road. You will build the roads fast and efficiently also. Is that a valid thing to build
No,
internal platforms?
No, I think rather than looking, see, not every provider might have the DNA to, to build their own platforms or, build something in-house, right? I think if you are able to have an architecture mindset, if you are able to identify the various processes that are there across these, across the entire healthcare chain, we can identify real good partners, and identify their products and services and see how to integrate this. So when we talk about whether we should build something or whether we can plug into a platform, I think the way in which things are actually going, some things which will help you to move, roll out products faster, improve your time to market and everything, is plugging into a platform. So you can build a virtual platform from where you can actually plug in multiple products, as long as we have a very clear view of what data that is there actually pumping in, what data you are pumping in, what data you are pumping out, and ensure that you always build a very, very, very strong integration layer. If you have that layer and if you're able to identify products, you can seamlessly plug in and you'll be able to realize the experience.
So here's a nice question from Dr. Ankit. It's a classic problem, an exception case. He says that when you have a PACS image, which is a radiology image for a trauma patient, you don't have an ID generated for them. How do you send the, how do you suppose, let's suppose patient needs to be sent directly to X-ray room. How do you get that images done, and it's a workflow issue, right?
Correct.
I
So
mean,
you can always
John Doe process, as we call it,
correct.
right?
No, I
Yeah.
think you can always create a temporary ID, right? You might not, you might still treat, there are cases where you treat them in the trauma or the emergency and then immediately send them back. But creating an MRN or a medical record number, is, you can do it. There are ways to do, assign a temporary ID. Using that temporary ID, you can always create a service order for, for an X-ray and basically send them out. It's a classic, what do you say? As you said, Bharat, it's a workflow issue. If you're able to, get a temporary ID for all these patients and later convert that temporary ID, it's almost very equivalent to converting a lead to an MRN number, right? This is patients coming into the trauma center might be, you can assign a temporary ID, later convert them into an MRN number, but you can still place an order and, get the job done, I would say.
So I noticed that at NH, the quality team works very closely with you, and that is an ideal scenario where the process and quality team works closely with the technology team. Another hospital that I'm advising also does this very effectively. And one of the approaches that I believe you also take, and I've seen others take as well, is that you kind of see what is going wrong. You get feedback from the patients, and then you use it to deliver a patient-centric experience. So here your patients get their, each observation on what is happening wrong, and then you fix it. And that's a great way to solve problems. Do you want to talk a little bit of how you do that? I know you
So,
do a lot of that at
see, I think
NH, right?
yeah, what we've actually done is we have created a service excellence team because and in purely focused towards improving patient centric services. It can be starting from a car, a parking, like the once they come into the lobby and parking their car till getting their medicines from the pharmacy, right? Creating a service excellence team where the quality team is also part of it, and they and because they have a very clear view of what are all the various indicators that they need to measure from a feedback standpoint, be it outpatient or inpatient, right? So
Waiting times, yeah.
we have created this cross-functional team where technology is one of the player in this cross-functional team, and identified the entire experience of what are all the various touch points involved. The moment the patient enters, or they even make a call or they enter the premises, the entire experience is actually mapped. We have identified what are some of the quality indicators. Let us say when we come to registration, what are the things that we have to look out for. Like it can be as simple as putting a registration kiosk so that they can do pretty much do self service, and they are automatically routed to the nearest to the appropriate doctor's office. And from there, we are trying to see whether we can send SMS messages, or when the doctor places an order via CPOE, the pharmacy can actually get an order, or they will get the medication in the app itself, so that they will be able to then show it to the pharmacy and collect their medicines too, right? There are other ways in which what we are trying to do, and when we complete all the services, we also send a feedback to close the loop to see that how we have actually performed, right? And in some cases, from an IP standpoint, we ensure that feedback is actually made mandatory, because we will know exactly what is the level of our services, and gives a good indicator of how we are doing across all these areas. Apart from that, we also use a checklist management utility to take a question. Let us say if it is going to be air conditioning, there are multiple areas that is actually mapped, and we basically check the air quality, because that forms a key part of the entire patient experience journey, right? So
Sure.
multiple things have come into action to basically deliver this experience at NH.
Fantastic. Now, when consumerization happens in any industry, when the consumer is king, that is when the quality improves, and that's when you see excellence. Um, so what I've seen that Mithun, the problem sometimes is that unlike a restaurant, so I went to this restaurant. It's a very nice place in Hyderabad, which has very nice cocktails, and there's this app which I can order anything I want, and it
Yeah.
comes to my table, and I can pay for it. I don't have to call the waiter at all. I can go through
Right.
the entire dining experience without calling any waiter, without paying any bill or calling for the bill or anything. You remember at all the restaurants you're trying to get that guy. I don't have to face
Yes.
any of it.
Yes.
Everything just lands
Yes.
up at my table, and I'm doing it all through
Yeah.
the app. I've not
Yeah.
even downloaded an app. I'm just using a QR code, scanning it, and doing that, which is what Best Dog is planning to do in the hospitals and the kiosks that Kumar also spoke about, right? Now, this
Correct.
consumerization, there is a little bit of challenge in the hospital industry, because unlike that restaurant where I can order 3 cocktails and get away with it when my wife is not watching, I can't do that to get 3 shots of insulin. It's not going to work like that, right? There is a control mechanism for doing things. It can't be totally consumerized. So if you say, okay, no, 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 you can't get whatever you want, eat whatever medicines you want, eat whatever, get whatever injections done for you. That's not going to work. It has to be a control system in the healthcare. That is where the comparison with consumerization becomes a little bit of a challenge. But the biggest challenge, Kumar, I've faced is the legacy systems, and I'm sure a lot of people here in the audience have faced that. And I mean, I've seen that across the Indian healthcare system, that
Correct.
the hospital information systems are legacy. They're 15, 20 years old,
Correct.
which is makes them very inflexible, written in client server technologies. There's a huge technology debt. I want you to walk us all through how NH overcame that technology debt to be in a position that today a best dog comes and you say, hey, click, plug and play, put your kiosk on.
Yeah.
That's how you work now. We know that we're working with you. So how did you reach that point from a
See,
legacy
yeah,
system scenario?
yeah. See, from us, this goes back. If I can rewind this to 2015, we strongly believe that technology will be the force multiplier to to deliver healthcare, or enable healthcare to reach the last mile, right? And if we have to meet, if we have to deliver healthcare at scale, it is very important that we harness the power of technology. So, as many organizations do talk about digital transformation, but we said that if you are going to do digital transformation, it is not a one-off exercise. It is not about looking at one part of the health information system and trying to, not. It is not about just standing up on patient portal and saying that we are completely digitally transformed. So we looked at
Now the latest is app. Everybody says we put an app, all the problems are
Yeah.
solved.
there's an
Yeah.
app for it, right?
Correct.
So yeah, so we said that let there be two phases, right, of digital transformation. But the phase one itself was for 5 years, and that 5 year phase from 2015 to 2020 March 2020, or 2016 to 2020 itself had three different stages. The first is building the foundational platform for the future, which means that we have to start cleaning up the house, laying new wires, getting all the foundational blocks, because you're talking about video traffic, you're talking about a ton of integration traffic, you're talking about a ton of messages. Today we handle around 15 million transactions. We have 12,000 sessions to our hospital. I would say unprecedented scalability that we have actually built in this entire system, and it was not built in a day. So foundational platform for the future. And then we said, where the phase two was transforming business operations. So transforming business operations, and we looked at the entire landscape. We looked at hospital information system. We looked at our what do you say, the ERP system. But let me talk more on the health information. We never looked HIS as the health information system, but we looked it up as a health information platform and said
Correct.
that let us build out this platform using open source components, using components which are used for e-commerce, and gave, like Bharat said, use design thinking approaches to think about how these flows need to be orchestrated, UX UI, looking at when you see a screen, what is the line of sight, how you can actually do things just with the keyboard, not even touching the mouse. How can we save microseconds or even seconds in each of these screens, which when aggregated will look, will be much more higher, which can give an improved efficiency for across the entire stakeholders.
Yeah.
So we designed such a system. So we built out a HIS, or a health information platform, in flat 2.5 years. We rolled out the entire thing, in flat out in 10 months across all our tertiary care centers,
Wow.
clinics, and our heart centers. And all this was actually possible because we have thought through this entire thing. A lot of experience was actually involved in this, right? There was a great team with me to plan this out completely, and constant iteration, continuous delivery, continuous integration. We were able to release certain modules independently, transition to it. We were able to understand user behavior. Then we started rolling out the entire thing. And as we speak, we are completed with stage one. And today it is all about changing the entire outpatient experience. And we
Okay.
are working with partners like BestDoc to improve our feedback management. We are working with, to improve complaint management system. We are working to improve, registration systems, right? So the next 3 years of digital transformation is going to be focused on improving outpatient, inpatient daycare experience. When you talk about patient, Now it is all about horizontally we are moving, right? So outpatient, inpatient daycare, changing experience for doctors. We have already changed the way in which doctors communicate. We rolled out a WhatsApp for doctors, which gave them unprecedented flexibility in, and it's all about chatting. You can place service orders, you can place medicine orders, you can do radiology, lab reports, everything got delivered. And today, this platform or the app that I'm talking about has around 2,000 doctors in that, and they send several million messages a day. I'm talking about serious million messages a day, where we are in the business of saving lives, especially
So how
during.
do, yeah. This is one question I had was in terms of adoption, right? So when I speak to some of the folks and all, they say that, it for me, the challenge is actually getting that adoption, or I would say more to do with change management, right? So you are in a particular way of working, and then you kind of, yeah, you have a lot of tools that we can utilize, but then how do you get people to actually use it as a habitually, and then you can have it
Yeah.
as active power users, right? How do we tackle that? I mean, I see a lot of these things being asked by many of the hospitals from an IT or an operations head team size.
How are we able to roll out the entire health information platform in 10 months, right? Because we were able to design the UX UI, or we gave a lot of importance to designing the screens. We sat with those stakeholders, understood what their current challenges are, understood what would they actually want. Okay, and we, that empathy, we were able to empathize with them, what they are actually see. We sat with people in warehouse, blood bank, doctors. So
Kumar,
much we were
you
able to understand the pulse of it.
Kumar, you're forgetting one thing.
Yeah,
You had deep commitment from the leadership.
yeah, yeah.
Are you forgetting Dr. Devi Shetty?
No, no, absolutely not. See, I, I would not say. I think without their support and guidance, I would say the entire senior management of, or the senior leadership of NH, right, had, I would say, 210% support, if I can put a number to it, or I would, it's infinite support, even till date, till this minute, this second, right? It starts from the chairman and flows complete across all the function heads. Today we are committed to this, and we have, not that this has been a bed of roses, we have not had challenges, we have had our own share of challenges, we have gone through that, but each challenge we have recalibrated us, we have taken note of what wrong or what mistakes that we have actually committed, and then work to correct that. So like always, our chairman says, you are allowed to make mistakes, but don't repeat the same mistake. That has always been the advice of our chairman, right? Which is in fact, so unless until you allow people to make mistakes, they will not improve as a person, right? And if you're doing, if me as a person, I'm doing this well, and my team is doing this well, it is definitely because of a great leadership who has supported us at every, I would say every step in our work life, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Wherever I've seen it succeed, it is always the change management has to be backed by the top leadership. They really, Dr. Devi Shetty is so proud of whatever Kumar and team do, that whenever you meet him, he just shows it off. He wants you to come and see how it is working. He's so excited about it. And he passes that excitement on to other leadership people in the organization. Kumar has tremendous backing from within. In the organization, and a lot of other leaders who are fully backing what he's doing. Similarly, wherever else I've seen this happen, the change begins with the leadership commitment. I would say number one. There are other few change agents, and there are these younger doctors are more motivated to make these things happen. If you look at, we call it evidence-based versus eminence-based medicine. So the younger doctors are more followers of evidence-based. The guys who are eminent, they are generally, they bank on their eminence. They don't bank so much on the evidence. So they don't put in that much effort to create data. There's also the difference between, a process-driven hospital. One of my colleagues at the current assignment told me very nicely that, we are not process-driven hospital. We are the old style of hospital, which is like the, run by very, people have figured out how to do things really well. They don't need a process. So, whereas the fresher, more greenfield, recent units are more process driven. So there's a change in culture which happens across the ecosystem, and there's a change which happens due to certain individuals' commitment. And I think one big change factor that is coming our way to conclude this discussion from my side, again, I repeat, the change that is coming is a tsunami. And ABDM is a tsunami for change. It is going to revolutionize healthcare in India.
Absolutely.
I
Yes,
would love to
yeah.
hear, Kumar's closing remarks on, what's going to happen. What do you see next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? People say, oh, it's too far away. I don't know. Is it really that far away?
No, I think we have there has been a tremendous. See, look what COVID has actually done, right? In 2 years, last 2 years, there's been tremendous intake of digital technologies by many healthcare providers. I can't wait to see what is going to happen in the next 3 years, because it's going to be very, very exciting. As you told, the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, there is a huge change, and if you are able to achieve that as a country from an interoperability standpoint, that is going to give us true portability of records. And as consumers focus more from a digital standpoint, we can see many of the providers basically shift to digital based systems or digital based what do you say, experiences, or enabling digital based experiences to the patients and delivering true delight. So I think in 3 years we can definitely see a lot of hospital systems upgraded, a lot of systems, hospitals basically engaging with their patients, enabling them to have that enabling and communicating with them, and ensuring that the I would say the focus, and enable them to focus from illness to wellness, rather than just focus from an illness standpoint. I think that's what the
And,
pandemic has also taught us.
and you guys have already crossed milestone 3, right, on the ABDM, and you're ready, right, for the.
We have done the milestone, one. We are working on milestone 2 and 3 now, or
Okay.
we are on that path to do that. But we have been, we also completed our Cayman Islands rollout, so we were pretty busy in that. But I think milestone 2 and 3 is in our sights, and we should get that done pretty quickly.
So what I see happening is that, I heard from Kiran Anandam Pillai that, we're going to launch these PHR apps within next month. And once we do that, you're going to have patients landing up at your doorstep saying, put your prescription with the prescription you're writing, send it to me on my PHR app. People are going to demand that, like they demanded UPI payments.
Absolutely.
And that, I think hospitals better be ready for that kind of a patient-centric experience. And I think it will be a challenge, but it's the right way to do. And I think the best leaders would be best positioned. Like we said, you have to have all your underlying systems integrated to be able to do that. And I think the best ones to do that would be, organizations like Kumar's
True.
NH. And
Yeah.
Best Doc hopefully will play a role. I've been pushing that we do something in that direction. So I think we've overshot the time, Mithun. So do you want to take some questions from the audience?
Yes, so I just got a couple of questions. Maybe I can just, we are short of time, but so one thing was they were asking was, what are the recommended best practices that one can, leverage for minimizing the time taken to integrate? So
Come
they're
on, you
looking
want to
at, I
go with
think,
that? I think
yeah.
you have lot of learning in that. You
So I
could
think
share that.
one is to understand what you want to integrate first. So when you want to integrate two different systems, understand what data, whether you want to do it unidirectional or bidirectional. Do your data, so data mapping. What are all the different sources of data, and how do you need to present this data? Not everything need to be presented. So you might get the entire data, but you need to only show certain aspects of it. And always look at certain standards, because standards provides you guardrails of how to basically do this. So look at standards. So when you take an integration, say which standards that I need to adhere to, what standards are actually there, right? So HL7, FHIR, DICOM. So if you are able to adhere to certain standards, then you'll be able to what do you say, do a very, very successful integration.
My single piece of advice: don't do patchwork. I mean, I don't know so many best practices, but I've seen a lot of people use what are called worst practices. They'll just patch it together somehow and make it work. And one day or the other that will break. You've given some table view, or you've created some. Worst case is people take master data from one central single source of truth, which is supposed to be the single source of truth. They go and put it in the other third party system. When the master changes here, there's no change done there, it all breaks. I mean, people need to realize patchwork doesn't work. I can tell you what's the worst practice. Kumar will tell you a lot about the best practices.
Yeah, I think best practices for for my best practices. Not everything need to be best practice, but it should be more recommended practices for that organization.
Yeah. No, of course, I think, every hospital, or like, they are in different stages of the journey. So, how you actually move from one stage to another, and different challenges will come into play, right? Level 1 to level 3, level 5. So that maturity as we go through, and that's where I think where Indian healthcare system is also in, right? We have a lot of different players at various stages. But I think, like, as we said, in the next couple of years or more will be, I think, time of flux, right? There'll be a lot of changes, I think, happening through accelerated change, I would say. And I'm sure, like, just to conclude, like, I think this particular session, I hope, has given some light in terms of how we can go about going and riding that change, right? Riding that change effectively, and bring in transformation across our hospital site. So thank
The
you.
best
Just
practice, the best evidence is that you should be able to plug and play. A
I
best
agree.
doc should be able to knock at your door and say, "You're going to put the kiosk there." You should say, "Okay, next 1 hour it is live."
Absolutely.
Right,
Or next
absolutely.
week it is
Absolutely.
live at the best. I mean, at the worst. I mean, it should
Yes.
be within a week. Take
No, it's
anything. It's a
correct.
monitoring device for patient care in the wards. You should be able to say, "Hey, you know what? I will make it live in a week. You can just put your patients on it next week,
Yeah.
right?"
No, yes,
And
I think that is
I
already
think
possible. It's just that I think what with the vision, like you said, the team that's involved, that methodology in terms of going through the process of selection and implementation, I think these timelines are definitely doable. In other industries, it is happening in days, right? So
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
It
yeah,
is clearly maturity level, and entire industry needs to move up on the maturity level, and
yeah.
all of us are making efforts across, to do that, to make that happen. Yeah. And thank you,
Great.
Kumar, for sparing and sharing so much about what you are doing as a leader in this field. Yeah.
Always there to support Bharat. Thank you so much. Always there.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Chetan.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Kumar, and Bharat, of course.
Thank,
Yes, thanks once again.
thank you so much. Bye.
Great session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.